everybody, and welcome to May's DIY Barn Box video. This is part 2 where we're going to kind of put everything together. On part 1 we just painted flowers because that took a bit. Now we're going to paint our vase portion and our tops, but I'm just going to do one with you guys just so you know how to do it. It's very easy, and then we'll move on to putting them together, okay? So for the, I guess, vase portion, kind of what you would, our background, you're gonna take your baby wipe. We're gonna use the baby wipe method. You're gonna kind of fold it. You can get a little bit of white paint. Dab some off. And we're just gonna kind of whitewash it. You have to use a little bit more white than you do brown when you're doing this, and it will take more than one coat. So what I did is I put one coat on with a baby wipe, and then I sanded it, and then I came back and kind of filled it in with a sponge a little bit. You can absolutely paint the whole thing with a sponge if you preferred that. I liked the, I wanted to see the grain of the wood, so that's where and usually it's dry, you can go right back over it with a second coat by the time you're done. Sorry if you can hear the kids outside playing. Ashlyn's home from school now, so they all went outside, but they're right outside my window. Let me fold this over so I don't get all the colored paint, which I just did. It is really windy here today. I love our new place up here, but wind is definitely a factor. Out in the middle of nowhere, so the wind just has nothing to block it. You will probably get some on your edges, so just right afterwards you can go back with a baby wipe and clean it off, because it'll be an obvious thing, so you'll want to clean it off. Now, when you have pieces like this that fit together, you are gonna want to not put too much paint on the bottom. And if it feels like it doesn't fit, make sure it dries a little bit, because the paint will swell a little bit when it gets wet like this. And if you have to, you can take your sandpaper and sand it down a little bit before you put it in. If you have any problems, contact me. I'm happy to kind of help you over the phone too. So I want to let that dry so I can sand it. So let's do the tops. So I did the tops and bottoms of all of the pieces with just a brown stain. So we're just using the burnt umber paint and creating a stain with our baby wipe. And just give that kind of stained wood look. Okay. This will be the shorter of the two videos. I know it's a lot, but I wanted to make sure to give you guys all the detail. So see, just go with the grain. And I usually do 2 coats. I usually do 1 coat, rub over it with a sandpaper real quick, and then come back and do a second coat. Try a minute. All right. Grab my sandpaper, which I must have moved off the table. I was getting rid of all the other paints. Okay, and you guys have fine sandpaper. Oh, there it is. Had everything ready, I thought. So we're not really sanding it a lot. We're just knocking down any of the fiber that's kind of across the top. Okay, and so that's pretty whitewashed. You can come back over it and try again with the baby wipe, but what I did instead was I took my sponge and I dabbed a lot off. So see, I got paint on there and I just kind of put a light coat over the top to kind of help out with that. You could still see the grain, but it covered it a little bit more. And then I came back over it with the sandpaper and the grain came right out. And now you always, of course, I went ahead and included sponges if anybody wanted to just paint them solid, you could absolutely do that. I wanted to kind of follow along with that watercolor theme. You can even kind of go like, kind of rub it across. But I didn't want just raw wood. All right, so we'll come back over that when it dries in a second with a piece of sandpaper, and I think we will be good. Get my paint off the edges. And we're actually, these are double-sided. I don't think I said that in the first video. So you will have 2 of everything. I'll make sure to put that in my notes when I send you the info. So we're gonna do the other side of this piece right here. That way it's already put together and I can kind of show you at both stages. For some reason I'm getting paint all over me today. All right, and grab our brown again. Oh, let's knock down the fiber a little bit. Okay, take our brown, baby wipe again. And you'll notice much more color show up the second time around. Great tip is use your brown paper out of your box to put down on your table. I paint here all the time, so I have plastic tablecloth, but so there you go. And I would come over with the sandpaper again once it gets dry. So this is fairly dry. I mostly sanded the edges. I wanted it to look a little warm. And I've pre-sanded all these pieces, but I sanded it because I wanted a little bit of that dark to kind of come out off the edge to kind of pull that in, okay? And you'll do both sides, but I went ahead and sanded the backs on your pieces so that you don't have the flashback. And you'll do the same on this, okay? It's pretty dry. At home, you want to wait till it's dry all the way. It just sands better. There's your finished product when it's dry all the way. Okay. All right. Oh, I will need that piece. So now I'm going to show you the pieces and kind of how it goes together. All right. And you might have to kind of lay things out. It took me a minute of like laying everything out again, even though I've put them together before I could do it today. Set this aside so you guys have good view. Okay. So you are going to take, we'll start with the biggest one. So you're going to take your biggest circle with the slot in it. That's going to be the top of your base. You have a smaller circle that's going to go underneath. Okay. It's just going to cover that up, just going to cover that lip up, and kind of, I like that it picks it up off the table a bit. Okay. So you're going to have all of this stained before you do this. Okay. And then you're going to glue this piece on here. Being careful not to get glue in your slotted area. If you do, you can wipe it out or just make sure it's dry all the way before you stick something in there. All right, so that is your base for your first one. The top for your big one, the next size slotted piece is going to be the top portion. Let's go like this. That might be more explanatory. Okay, so the next piece would go here. Then you're going to have a piece like this, a ring and a circle. And the ring's going to be a little bit bigger than the circle, okay? So you're just going to have to center it. So what I would do is I would put it upside down and glue it like this after I was done, and then glue it to my top, okay? So then there's your first piece. Now for your second one, got this. You have the two smaller slotted pieces. You're going to take your biggest slotted piece is going to be the base. Then you have these circles left. So the smallest is gonna go under your base because you want it to be smaller than that, but you want it to cover the hole, so it kind of lifts it up a little bit. Now you have your smallest little slotted piece is gonna go here. Your ring, our solid piece, sorry, and then your small ring. And the same with this. The ring's a little bit bigger than the circle. So what I did is I turned it over like this to glue it. Then I glued this piece onto it. Now, the ones I showed you earlier, I did not glue my candle pieces together. I would recommend that you glue them together. I didn't because I was gonna do the backs of them on here, but when we're done today, I'm gonna glue mine together. I just think it holds the weight of the candle better. Okay, so we'll start with this little guy here, a little easier. What I would recommend to do is either keep them in, I'm not going to because you wouldn't be able to see well. So either kind of keep them in here while you're placing everything, or take a pencil and draw a line, really like faint line, just so you make sure you didn't go above that little area with your glue. Because if you glue it and then it's dried on there and you go to put this on, it doesn't fit, it'll be a bit of a problem. I'm gonna cheat with my picture here because they're the same on both sides, so we're not flipping back and forth that way. But this is the picture I sent you guys, but I want to replicate it. I broke my little guy here a little bit right here, so I'm just gonna glue him together. Here's a new little tip of something I found on Amazon a bit ago, and I've been meaning to show you guys. But mine's gonna be stuck together. They come with these little tips. I should have taken it off before we. Okay.
Any pair of pliers?
Yeah, right here. There should be a pair of pliers right here. So they're like a really small tip, and they work great for letters especially, but for getting the glue on. Okay, of course it's not gonna be my friend. There we go. Okay, so it has a little tip, and it comes with this, had a little ball on the end of it, like a straight pin, but it came off, so I just put a piece of tape on it. But you'll notice you can get a small amount of glue out. So that's why I picked them. I grabbed them, and they've worked so far so good. So they weren't very expensive. But stuff like this, like I have this broken piece, I can put just a tiny bit of glue in there then and stick it back together. And then I'll let it sit there and dry while we glue the rest together. Okay, so I'm gonna lay everything out first. So you're gonna take this small, or uneven. Okay, so you're gonna take this small greenery piece right here. Next, we have one of these little coral flowers. So what I would do is I do the back layer first, then the next layer, and then the next layer. They both have 3 layers of flowers. Now, you can put these flowers together however you want. This is just what I came up with. Now you're gonna have your shortest little blade of grass and your cone flower, but this one is shorter, I guess you would say. See my big one.
Underneath.
No, I think it's back.
There's one here.
Is it underneath? Okay. So see how there's 2 cone flowers? The shorter one is the one you're going to use for your small piece. And this is going to kind of just stick right up between the petals. Okay. I'll get the layer laid down and then I'll turn it around so you guys can see. Sorry, the toy is going off now. It's been one of those days. Okay, and next is our little red pom-pom. This kind of helps hold the daisy up more than anything. And then our green piece. It's so funny how you put something together and it seems like there's so much room, and then Like, oh no, you gotta squish everything over to kind of line it up, okay? Now, I know it looked really funny to me when I laid my first layer out. I'm like, okay, I don't like this. This doesn't look good. And I was like, well, keep building on it. So then next you're gonna take your orange flower. It's laid like this. And it also looks a lot different once the top and bottom is on. This needs to go up higher so you can see it. I needed to turn that around and show you guys. Okay. I can try to do it upside down. So that is the first layer. Can you see that, Mom?
Yeah, I'm right on top of it now.
Okay. Even if you can't see me, if you can just see.
Just your hand.
So that's what your first layer will look like. The next layer, you're gonna come in with your little laying flower. Your daisy goes down before that though. That's the other daisy. It goes to the outside. So you see how these daisies, oh, I guess they're both the same. Okay, I thought the one was different than the other. Okay, now, cauliflower daisy. This orange one's gonna go on top. Your pink flower. We need this. I know, I'm doing it backwards. It should be mirrored, like I'm looking at the picture. That's the problem. Sorry, you guys. I've never done it, I guess, off of a picture before. So I'm on the wrong side. That's better. Now the flowers will all go the right way. Okay. Now we're gonna take our, do I wanna put this down? Yeah. That's gonna be next. And then our orange flower is gonna go on top, but we can't glue it just yet. And then we have our little short pink flower right here. It's gonna go right here. And then we have these two, like our third layer will be this. Okay, so let's glue this all on. I just recommend laying everything out once before you glue it. And remember, I told you in the last video that you have these as little spacers, I guess you would call it. Kind of holds up the little spaces, and we will need some of these. I gave you more than you would need, but I did use a few. I used more of them on the bigger one, I think, though. So, all right, we're gonna glue it piece at a time. And I use the big bottle of glue. I just mainly use this for the stems. I started trying to use it, but it was taking me forever because the glue just doesn't come out very fast. So then on the bigger pieces, I just, remember, you don't need a lot of glue. You don't want glue squishing out all over on this. So I even took like a paper towel, if you have any extra, and kind of dab it. Now, I would pay attention to where my flowers overlapped on the edge and come back in and paint the back sides. After you're all done, you can just take a paintbrush and just paint the back sides of those a dark color, or you can stain them before you do it. But that way, wherever it sees through, shows through, you'll have, in fact, I'm gonna wipe the glue off where mine goes over. Because, you know, you don't have to have glue on every piece either. Every part of the piece, you have to have glue on every piece, but not every, you know, little portion of it doesn't need to be glued. Okay, so we're gonna glue this next. And we're gonna glue this. I hope this isn't confusing, but you can like pause and restart as needed to follow through or follow along. Oops. The kids are outside playing with the remote control car. Okay, and then this piece is gonna go on here, and we wanna make sure it's under the line so we can put our top on. It was a tight fit, but I liked it. Okay, now we'll glue this on next. I always just keep a baby wipe. I use my hand a lot to wipe the glue. Then I just wipe it off on a baby wipe so I don't get glue on everything else. Like this is a smaller piece. I just kind of pat it around. And I like everything hanging off the edge. I think that helps it to me. I don't like to be confined into like a specific spot. But if you didn't like that, you could totally rearrange it a little bit differently so that you didn't have that overlapping piece. Okay, now let's see if we need we don't need a spacer for that one because it has support all the way around. So we'll just put some glue on each side because that's kind of where it's going to touch, and a little bit on the stem. And now we're going to come over here with this. Just put some glue across the bottom, and I just went ahead and went down the stem. It only touches in a couple places. Those are the easiest place for your glue to come out. It's on these little stems. Okay, now next we're gonna come in with this little flower right here, and it definitely needs support. So what I did ahead of time was I glued a couple of these on the back. In fact, in some areas it needed two. Let's see, let's set them down on here first. Because I think I glued it too high. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna glue two of these together. Usually I do this all for you in one like sitting, but it's been spread out with the kids being sick and everything. I've just been trying to fit in when I can working. So it's been a little different for me remembering what goes where. Okay, that'll be enough to just kind of boost up the other side of the flower so it has something to stick to. So put glue on both sides. I'm gonna stick it right there. Okay, then we'll glue on the top. Sorry, I don't mean to be looking over it. I just want to make sure they set on that bottom. Okay. So see, I want to make sure everything like sits right on the bottom. So I put my bottom on there when I put everything together myself because I didn't want to be like floating above the bottom. I wanted everything to be touching. All right, let's finish that. And then we have the one flower over here. It goes right in there. So that one is complete. Okay. So, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the side we did, and there's the side we did previously. Okay.
Very cool.
Very cool. All right. Now let's go to our big one. I'm going to take it apart. Oh, but I'm going to do the same thing. Since I can't keep it together, I'm going to draw a line where we're at. So I make sure I don't go above that. I talked about it in the video before too. So if you need to sand this down, you can. I've double checked everything and everything fits before it went into your box. So you might either need to let something dry for a minute or, you know, a couple hours and make sure the wood's good and dry if it's swollen, or sand it down a little bit. All right, now our next one, we're gonna do this big one. So we're gonna start with the back pieces. Okay, I have to remember, and I'm upside down. I have to remember that it's reversed. So there, it's on the back side. Okay, I just had to get myself started. All right, so we're gonna start with a purple flower in the back. And I can't remember which flower that is, and I can't see. Yellow. All right, we're gonna take one of these. And see, I painted these at 2 different times. See the difference? They're never the same. So your one is never gonna look like the other, but your one flower in the world never looks like the other. So, you know. All right. Actually, I wanna let it hang off a little bit there, I think. Now the next, I have this little thing that reminds me of a strawberry. This little guy. I'm sure that's not what it is. It actually is probably a bud, but it looks like it reminds me of a strawberry every time I look at it. Then I'm gonna have one of these yellow, one of these. And some of these are just kind of spacers. I needed to like fill space in where I thought like, oh, it needs a little bit more there. So sometimes they're tipped up a bit to fit. And then one of our little vining flowers. And remember, there's extra flowers. You will have extra flowers at the end unless you do it differently. This one is harder to see on my picture. One of these guys. And then the really pretty big greenery piece. And this hangs off the edge, so don't think like, oh no, I don't have enough space. It does hang off. And then this comes in right here. So see, we gotta scoot over a little bit. I thought that might be the case, but I wasn't sure. You can turn it to a little bit. There we go. All right, now next is going to be, we're gonna lay everything out kind of a little bit and then we'll start gluing, okay? I just wanna make sure we have room for everything. This piece sits on top. And it has some leaves too. And then we have one of these, the bigger coral flowers is gonna go on the top. So that's gonna have to have something holding it up behind there. Then another one of our beautiful cone flowers. And I used this on this one. So this one had had leaves. So let's lay it down right here. And then we'll put some spacers behind it to hold the little cone flower up. Then we have this little really pretty yellow flower. It reminds me of a sunflower. I don't know that that really is what it is or isn't, but that's what it reminded me of when I was putting this together. These red flowers. Like I said before, I don't know the names of all of them. It's gonna go right in there. And then, what? That one's going the wrong way. So that goes there, one of those flowers. And then we come back in on the front with one of these that gives kind of like a third layer and a few little accents along the way, okay? So let's take these top things off. And we will come in and glue our bottom layer first. And I'm gonna leave these out to start. So like on stuff like this, I only put glue on the big part. I did not put any glue on the bottom piece. Remember to be cautious of your line. You don't want it to go below that. This. This is going to be something that it's like roughly handled in this. You all know this glues well. Our strawberry flower.
It could be an ornamental strawberry.
Oh, that's true.
They actually look like strawberries, but they don't get very big. And they stand straight up like that.
Oh. My mom's way better at flowers and stuff than me. I don't have a green thumb.
That's okay. You're much better at this.
Animals, no problem, but I can't grow things, you know, like live things. Like, well, I guess animals are live, but these kind of live things. This is going to sit in here, so I want to make sure to leave space for that. But I encourage you to play around with it and see, come up with your own little creations. I'd love to see them. I mean, I love how this turned out, but I always like to see others. I know you guys have some really cool ideas. Like these, I just put glue on the flowers. I did not put glue on the skinny stems. I did right just down here on the bottom. But this is where that comes in. Takes longer though, so I'm not gonna try to not make your videos too long. Oops. Okay. And also you might choose another color palette. What I will put in this text, I should have told you in the other video because you'll probably watch it first, is that I would lay your stuff out how you want it maybe before you paint it, because depending on where it's going to lay, it might change your color choice. I had to repaint some because I just sat and I was like, oh, I painted the flowers how I wanted the flowers to look. And then when I went to piece them together, I was like, oh, well, now I need something of a different color to lay on top of that. So I do encourage you to kind of lay it out before you choose what you're going to paint if you're going to do your own thing. Just wiping my glue off where this overhangs. Get my tulip. I know what some things are called. My husband has all 3 kids outside by himself. You know, I mean, we raised 4 kids, so it's not like, but when you're not used to having 3 little kids at home yet, so still an adjustment. All right, so we have that base layer. I think I got everything.
Yeah, and they grew up together, but we didn't grow up with them.
Yeah, so we're getting it though, just taking us a bit. That's gonna be next, and we'll add some little leaves to it. All right. Sorry, I'm sticking down over my little portion there. All right, let's do this cone flower. Now I know I had to put some pieces on the back of this to hold it up. Just lay it down here and see where we're gonna put those at. over here more. All right, so let's put some, let's glue the stem first, and then I'll come back and glue the flower. That way we can put our supports on the flower and we make sure we have them where we're not going to run out of room to place them. Okay. Everything doesn't lay exactly the same as it did facing the other direction. Fairly much it does, but yeah, we only need one set of spacers on these. And on this one, I believe I glued them on the flower first. Yeah. Okay. Stick it on the back of our flower. Oh my goodness, this glue on the outside of my bottle. All right, there we go. Does that work? Yeah, okay. Now I'll put some glue on those. I originally was thinking some kind of like a raindrop, but I didn't like it. And then these worked out perfect to space things with. Okay. So that's what's gonna hold your flower down there. Okay. Now, next is, we have our yellow flower that's overlapping that. This little pink flower, a small pink coral flower in front of here. We can go ahead and glue that on. It should hold. Oh my gosh, and being sick, they've just been really fussy. They're adjusting. I think kids sometimes adjust better than we do. All right, and now our little sunflower is going to come in next, and it's going to go right in here. Sunflowers are my daughter's favorite flower. Okay. Next is this little flower right here, and it's going to need a couple spacers down there. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to glue them on the back of the flower. That way we don't end up gluing them in the wrong place and then they show through. Okay. And they're like the perfect shape to keep them behind the scenes here. I love the 3D look. Sorry if I'm blocking your view there for a second. Is it up far enough? Yeah. Okay. Now, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, we'll come back into our leaves. So next we have this really pretty flower that goes right up here. And I think it touches enough that we don't have to worry about any extra support for it. this flower is really pretty. And I know I'm missing something. This comes here, but this has some leaves. So take a couple of your leaves and we're gonna place one down here. And then we're gonna place another one up here a little bit higher. Okay. And then I think that way that will hold up our little coral flower on the outside. And you can take the picture. You'll have it on your phone that you can go off of. It'll be a little easier than when going backwards like I am. Okay, so that should hold up our little pink flower right here. And if there's a flower you want to showcase that you really like, make sure that flower stands out, you know, move it around somewhere. That's what I did. You know, I put up in front what I wanted to be the most seen. And remember, these are all going to have support from the bottom when they're attached to when the base attaches. I have this really pretty pink flower that comes right in here. Oh, that's so pretty. And it lands right on the leaf for the cone flower, so it will stand up on its own. There you go. Okay, and now we just have the little flowers to put on here. So then these little yellow flowers, I just kind of zhuzhed up this greenery a little bit with these by attaching them. Right on there. I'm excited to see it. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot our dragonfly.
Don't forget the
So our dragonfly goes right in here. That's how, there was an empty spot, and so I thought about a bumblebee, and I was like, oh no, a dragonfly looks the best.
It's my favorite.
Jessica, that's Jessica's favorite, I think, too, is a dragonfly. I remember Samantha used to always buy dragonfly things. And see, now this placed a little bit differently than I did on the other side. It's hanging off a little bit, but they're not all going to be the same. All right. So let's turn this up. Moment of truth that it fits in there. That I didn't go over anything. I think we're good.
Hold it up.
I think so. I will. I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure everything was lined up.
I'll turn around the other side.
Okay.
Or can you?
Yeah, I just got to glue it
let's
together
see.
still.
Yep.
So what I would recommend is to look at these flowers that are on the edge and go ahead and paint the backs. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a paintbrush and some black spray paint, some black paint, and just go over the edge. You could also use like a paint pen, and then I'm going to glue the bases on. So I'm going to put glue down in here and glue them right on so that I make sure it's strong enough to hold up the candle. Oh, I love them.
They're pretty.
They're very pretty. I hope you guys love them as much as we do. Sorry. Okay, see, and I have extra flowers even, but you'll have even more extra because I added some extra ones in there that we didn't use. So, all right, well, thanks everyone. Again, like I said in the other video, thank you for showing me so much grace. This has been a very, very tough time to go through, and I really appreciate all your support, and happy crafting. I'll see you next month.